Breaking news now out of The Hague, where there's been a major development in the case of Rohingya Muslims and the claims of genocide. In the past few minutes, the International Court of Justice has ruled that Myanmar must take all possible measures to prevent its military from carrying out genocide. They've ordered Myanmar's government to protect all evidence. Al Jazeera's Tanvir Chowdhury is standing by for us in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, which is home to hundreds of thousands of Rohingya refugees. But first, let's go live now to Neave, who's at The Hague. Neave, tell us more about this ruling.
Well, let me start by giving you a bit of context. Last November, the Gambia brought this case against Myanmar. The Gambia had the backing of 57, largely Muslim countries in doing this. The country alleges that Myanmar has breached the UN Convention on Genocide, that all-important 1948 convention signed in the wake of the Second World War, not only to punish, but to prevent genocide from ever happening again. There was an earlier hearing in December, attended by the civilian leader of Myanmar, Aung San Suu Kyi. She wasn't here today for this final result. But what the court has been asked to do is rule on two things: to say whether or not it has jurisdiction, and it has come back saying it does indeed have jurisdiction, meaning a genocide trial will take place. And secondly, it was asked by the Gambia too to impose something called provisional measures, which amounts to an emergency injunction to put the brakes on any form of genocidal violence. And what we've heard from the court a short while ago is that there are terms on what it wants Myanmar to do. It wants to make sure that its military and all irregular forces that work alongside it stop all acts of violence, including rape, the burning of villages, mass murder, the prevention of access to medicine. It has also asked Myanmar to preserve all evidence when it comes to the ongoing trial, the future trial of genocide. And there are also further terms when it comes to the timing as well. It wants Myanmar to report back 4 months from today, and then every 6 months going forward, to show exactly what it's doing to the international community, to prove that it is actually living up to what the ICJ, the UN's highest court, has now imposed upon it.
Does Myanmar have to follow this ruling, or is it merely symbolic?
Well, that's the problem. The ICJ, despite the fact that it's described as the world court, the world's highest court, this ruling is binding, but it cannot be enforced. That's the problem. And in the past, other countries have simply ignored them. But what can be done in terms of escalating pressure on Myanmar is it could, in theory, take things all the way to the UN Security Council. But given the makeup of the UN Security Council, with the likes of China and Russia being sympathetic towards Myanmar, the thought of the possibility of any serious resolution being slapped upon Myanmar is somewhat dwindles. In that respect, an awful lot of faith and trust, I suppose, is being put in Myanmar to act off its own back. And given that Aung San Suu Kyi came here in person in December, something that she didn't have to do, does show to some extent that she respects the jurisdiction of the court. But whether or not they will actually act upon what the court has imposed upon Myanmar is a different question entirely. The fact that these timeframes of 4 months and 6 months checkups has been imposed at all implies that the court really wants to see some movement from Myanmar's leadership.
Al Jazeera's Neave reporting live there from The Hague. Let's go to Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, where Al Jazeera's Tanvir Chowdhury is right now. I know the ruling came out, within the last 30, 40 minutes or so, Tanvir, so perhaps a little bit early, but what's been the reaction there to this?
Well, so far I haven't got a chance to talk to anybody, but last few days we've been talking to many of the camp residents, the community leaders. We asked them hypothetically, what if the ruling is in favor of the Rohingyas? And they said that we welcome this. I mean, it's very much waiting for a long time. We want some sort of justice. So this would be very much welcoming news to them, as well as for Bangladesh government and Bangladesh itself, which has been hosting nearly a million refugees for over years now. So they would welcome this because they've been persuading the international community to insert pressure on Myanmar and to acknowledge the fact that atrocities being committed on the other side, which is why so many influx took place in 2017 and onwards. Even now, on and off, a lot of Rohingya start trickling down on the border because of the atrocities still been going on there. The Fortified Rights and Human Rights Body just a week back put in its report that about 125,000 Rohingyas are in internment camp. Many of them are coerced to accept this national verification card, which is nothing more than a card that says they're Muslim Bengalis. It doesn't verify anything else. So this would be symbolically a big gesture for the Rohingya community here, as well as for the Bangladesh government and the nation itself, because they've been trying to put this across to the international community. What it will do in tangible terms is the next question. Will it facilitate a quicker repatriation for the Rohingyas? We don't know. I mean, will it encourage many of the nations to actually impose sanction on Myanmar? Will it empower the UN and other bodies to do something more about this? This we'll have to see at Trump's come. Will Myanmar abide by this ruling, So in the end, it's very symbolic. It's a moral victory. If nothing else, it's a psychological victory. And Rohingyas will be very much welcoming. We'll bring you more from the camp in coming days.
Al Jazeera's Tanvir Chowdhury reporting live there from Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh. Tanvir, many thanks indeed.